In terms of design, the TVS Raider is quite a unique looking motorcycle. You get this nice LED headlamp at the front. You get these DRLs, which quite frankly I'm not a huge fan of. You get these yellow side lock sort of a treatment right here. The tank is something that I personally like. It is a nicely sculpted tank. It gets some sharp lines. You also get this contrast gloss black finish on the tank extensions. Moving on to the seat, TVS has fitted it with split seats to give it a nice and sporty appeal. The exhaust is also quite a nice one. You get this silver brushed aluminum sort of finish for the exhaust as well. Moving on to the rear, you get inverted V-shaped LED tail lamps. Now, the overall fit and finish, the quality is quite impressive for the most part. The paint quality is really nice, as is the switch gear, but there are certain parts that could have been of better quality. Like for example, the finish on the exhaust heat shield is not really up to the mark. It could have been a little better. Certain places you can even see the welds. They are not as clean as they should have been, but overall it is quite a premium looking motorcycle, especially in the 125cc space. As far as other features go, the TVS Raider gets a silent start as well as a start-stop engine, which should further aid fuel economy, and TVS claims that this particular motorcycle can return up to 67 kilometers to a litre. The Raider comes paired with a 5-speed transmission, and while it performs seamlessly for the most part, it shifts through the gears quite well and quite smoothly. It's only when shifting from neutral to first that it tends to feel a little bit notchy and a little bit clunky. Otherwise, the gear ratios are nicely packed. You can move up the gears quite quickly as well. You can maintain about 35 to 40 kilometers per hour in the top gear, in the 5th gear, without the engine throwing any sort of tantrums whatsoever. And that is something that should further aid fuel economy. The TVS Raider comes with 30mm telescopic forks at the front and 5-step preload adjustable monoshock at the rear. Now the rear tends to feel a little bit too soft. That is something that we found while riding at the TVS test track. On the Parabola there was a bit of a bump, and that tends to unsettle the motorcycle, but it does gain its composure back pretty soon as well. Another thing to highlight is the fact that it tips the scale at just 123 kgs, which makes it quite eager to turn in. As far as ride quality goes, we can't really comment on it as of now because we've only ridden it at the TVS test track and haven't quite got a chance to ride it over long stretches of broken and bad roads. Having said that, given our experience and how the suspension is tuned, we think it should perform absolutely comfortably over. The TVS Raider comes with 2 riding modes, Power and Eco. You can toggle between these modes using the switch on the handlebar. Given that it is positioned where the engine kill switch traditionally is, I found myself hitting the button every time I wanted to turn the motorcycle off. The usability of the mode, in my opinion, is debatable as well, especially given that the power it makes and the fact that there is only a roughly 30% difference in the way the motorcycle behaves. The power mode allows you to push the motorcycle to its limit, but with the eco mode tuned for efficiency, the engine is restricted at 7,500 RPM. Coming to the riding posture, the TVS Raider finds quite a nice balance between a sporty riding posture as well as comfort. Now, the lower part of your body is a slightly more aggressive posture, especially with the slightly rear set foot pegs, but the upper half is nice and upright. You have to lean forward a little bit to grab hold of this rather flat handlebar, but that doesn't quite put you in an uncomfortable position. It gives a nice comfortable position, but at the same time it feels sporty as well. What adds to the sportiness of the motorcycle is this large tank, and it is quite nice at the base, so you genuinely can grip it quite well. It gives you the feeling of sitting on a more premium, more larger motorcycle than it actually is. Moving on to other bits, the seat height isn't quite tall. You can easily touch both your feet on the ground as well. The pillion seat as well as the rider seat, both of them are amply comfortable. The split seat treatment has been done really well. In fact, it is quite spacious. The support is nice. The cushioning is also reasonably firm enough for comfort. And overall, it is a motorcycle that you will be comfortable in even during long hours of riding. In In terms of features, the TVS Raider comes packed with technology, especially this top spec variant that we are riding today. It comes with a color display that offers a ton of information. It has 2 trip meters, a tachometer, a speedometer. It connects to the TVS X Connect app via Bluetooth, which offers voice assist, turn-by-turn navigation, and a lot of more information. The Raider also gets 2 riding modes, a power and an eco. We'll talk about that a little later. You also get a nice little USB port for your mobile charging. You get some under-seat storage as well, but that should be just enough to accommodate the documents of your vehicle and probably a toolbox and a first aid kit. Moving on to the all-important engine bits. The TVS Raider gets a 125cc motor with a 3-valve head. This motorcycle makes about 11.2 bhp and 11.2 Nm. There is enough punch lower in the rev range and it pulls cleanly right from about 2000 rpm. There is a linearity in the power delivery that is really likable. The motor, however, only comes into its element and feels energetic once it crosses the 3,500 rpm mark. As far as the smoothness of the engine goes, it stays calm and composed throughout the rev range, but it starts feeling a bit vibey post 6,500 rpm with roughly 80 kmph on the speedo. As far as the acceleration goes, TVS claims that this can do the 0 to 60 run in 5.9 seconds, and that is quite impressive for a commuter of this class. It stays smooth and comfortable right up till the 75-80 km/h mark, which is reasonable for a commuter, and you can easily stay at that speed pretty much all day long. But if you want to push beyond that, we saw a speedo indicated 102 kmph on the TVS test track here in Hosur.